Good evening and welcome to Kunsang Payol Choling. You might not have expected this teaching tonight, but here we are, and bringing you Jetsunma Ahkon Lhamo. Today's teaching was given originally in 2007, and the title of the teaching is that the Dharma for today is outside the box. So I think just about everything in the world today is outside the box. So here we go. We'll begin now.
Say that it's kind of interesting that in the request for teaching being the final prayer often before one receives teaching, I am moved to talk a little bit about how hard it is to practice Dharma these days and how differently Dharma is starting to appear as it moves through our culture. And of course, as it moves through our culture, the first, maybe second, and third wave of those students who are karmically connected and who come up to practice Dharma, each of them will, and that's both a lovely and scary thought, add their own little piece to the stew, you know. As Dharma moves across a new country, it always absorbs some of the culture of that country. It always absorbs some of the flavor of that country, and it always kind of makes room for some of the difficulties of that culture. For instance, when the Dharma went to Tibet, and previously most Dharma practitioners were vegetarians, for the simple reason that they wished to do no harm to other beings. But then when when Dharma moved to Tibet, that was almost impossible because of the extensive long winter and how odd it is that even though there are glaciers and streams, there's also a lot of wasteland and desert on the plateau. And there are fertile valleys in which it's easy to grow things, but and in that case they're like, even their wildflowers and their wild greens and shrubbery are like medicinal herbs, nothing like, you know, the stuff that grows around here you can't even feed to your cow unless, you know, unless cars are way, way far away from it. It's not like that in Tibet. But the growing of anything other than just fundamental grasses, the vegetables, is very difficult. And so when Buddhism went to Tibet, it changed in its character somewhat. It had to mix and mingle with the shamanistic tendencies and the what's called the bone religion in Tibet. And rather than, there was some competition, some infighting, but rather than that, there was more of a blending and a compilation that took place. And that is due to the incredible compassion, insightfulness, enlightenment, and pervasive wisdom that Guru Rinpoche has. And he was able to see what to accept and what to reject. And of course, we who are practicing Dharma, and you know, since we seem to still be living ordinary lives and so forth, in many ways, we can't say that we've like graduated to the 4th bhumi or the 10th bhumi or any of that stuff. If we do say that, we're probably heading for the cookie house. So But on the other hand, we feel some semblance of courage, and yet still we're not safe. We're not really so married into the Dharma that we really understand it. And a lot of times we're practicing Dharma, but we don't really understand the essential nature of Dharma. And so our fledgling American Dharma is indeed a fledgling. None other than His Holiness Peno Rinpoche has done so far amazing things to ensure that Dharma will be firm in America. For him to come every year the way he has, and given the retreats that he has, in essence giving Shedra teachings to students who, I mean, across the board, I'm sure, in all due humility, we can admit we don't even deserve these teachings. We hear these teachings and we go, yowzer. And it's pretty amazing. And so for some then there ensues the confusion, and it is a big confusion, of how to live, how to be, how to act. Some of us make the mistake, at least at first, of thinking, oh, I'm in the deep water now, so I must be a lifeguard. Whereas I'm thinking, you're in the deep water now, good to learn to swim. So, in the beginning we think, well, I'm wearing some robes and I've got at least 4 malas, and, and I get to take these great teachings and with things in them that you're not supposed to tell other people. That makes you ever so cool. And then we get into that, and for a little while we're kind of doing the ego hokey pokey, We're all puffed up. And then after a while we realize that, our life is about the same, and our job is about the same, and our health is about the same. And, in many ways we are making great strides because our understanding, or at least we as people, are becoming deeper. The water is deeper. It's a deeper water. Little by little, we learn not to simply judge by appearances. And that's a big, 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 big coup. You may not think that's such a big deal. But the moment your judgment and sort of neurotic self-absorption and seeing everything from that angle begins to ease up a little bit, you're making a little bit of progress. That's really when you know you're making a little bit of progress. If you're still waiting for the magical Buddhism aha, I hope you've received enough teachings to know by now that Buddhism is something that is practiced every day with total mindfulness. The practices bring result, but it takes a lifetime to get a tangible result. And for many practitioners, they may remain fairly unaware of whatever progress they've made until the moment of their death. And then it's like hard to run back and tell everybody how smart you are. Say no, folks, don't forget to... So hopefully we have all finally settled into living a sacred life, which means that you practice, you do the best you can, you care for others, you try to follow the precepts, you try to relieve yourself of the burden of narcissism, because it's a terrible burden. It's just terrible. Hard to carry around. Weighs 1,000,000 pounds, and it's just your ego. And we begin to slowly develop the capacity to think of having a good heart. Even that simple term, which His Holiness the Dalai Lama has, written about and talked about a great deal, that is a shining first step on the path to Dharma. Having a good heart means, you let the good judgment go. You try to be helpful rather than hurtful. You attack, and there is an attack. You attack your 5 poisons. You are required as a Dharma practitioner to go after them. I mean, it should be something of a valiant effort. You should be able to step up like a warrior. And many of us here in America, we have that capitalistic, dependent kind of economically dependent, materialistic kind of thinking. And so we have that. And in America, we do have a little bit of a warrior edge. You know, we're taught, go get them. You know, that's supposed to mean something. And so we have that kind of habit in us, that flavor in us. But now, in Dharma, we're being asked to apply that to these precepts. So that if we find that we have slothful behavior, well, that sloth becomes the enemy. And the most skillful way to practice that is to not make yourself the enemy. That's guilt. That's a different religion. So guilt is not useful. We practice what we have to practice in order to get our stuff together. So if we find out that pride and arrogance is our habit, then that becomes the enemy from the point of view of Dharma. The pride and arrogance, why are they the enemy? Because they will bring unhappiness. They will bring enmity with others. They will bring that kind of fighting spirit into one's life. And plus, nobody's going to like you. There's always that. And pride is a deadly sin. It's one of those, I hate the word sin, but pride is a deadly non-virtue. Let's use that. Deadly in the fact that it's very difficult to humble oneself enough to open the heart and really see the splendor of the 3 precious jewels as they appear in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, relatively appearing as our own root guru in the world. We don't, our pride and arrogance lets us think in theoretical terms. Oh yes, we take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, up there somewhere. But when we have to look at our own root guru or our own Sangha, which is one of the 3 objects of refuge, we say, oh, not that teacher and not that Sangha. And so we think we're much further along than we actually are. It's true that people can be irritating. It's true that we can, even our best friends can be irritating. It's true that people can really blow it and make huge mistakes. It's true, but these people that are our Sangha members are simply ordinary sentient beings that we have taken vows to care for. These are not the enemy. And if they've become the enemy, you left the path a long time ago. You see? It's our own pride and self-absorption and arrogance that becomes the enemy. And there are no exceptions. You can't say, you are being prideful and arrogant about that person, and I'm going to tell you how to really do it. I'm glad you're giggling. Because, we do that sometimes. We think, we're ready to go off about on how prideful and arrogant other people are, but we don't want to see it in ourselves. We just don't want to see that. So it's difficult but very necessary to understand that the enemies we are fighting are the 5 poisons. They are hatred, greed, and ignorance, slothfulness, and pridefulness, and I think there's a bunch of more minor ones too. But you know what they are. It's not hard to ferry them out if you put yourself in a Dharma environment and start to mix your mind with Dharma thoughts by reading Dharma books, you begin to see the contrast. An excellent way to begin to see the contrast is to read some of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's books, because he talks to every man and every woman. You don't have to be a special or advanced practitioner to understand his books, and yet I promise you, you will learn just as much if you are an advanced practitioner. So this is the magic of a Buddha like that speaking to us, is that they speak in the language that we understand. And that's just a tremendous blessing that we all share from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So right now we are trying to mix the context of our culture with Buddhism, and also the context of modernity, our modern times. We really aren't, 5 centuries ago. We really aren't, 200 centuries ago. We really even aren't from last century anymore. We're happening today, and today there's the internet. And there's TV, and there's radio, and there's all kinds of communication that goes on that lets us know what the world's all about pretty instantly. And here's that, the internet and the TV and the radio and everything feeding us information that I think is terribly biased. I mean, who am I, but I think it's terribly biased. Like, for instance, when you listen to the TV and they tell you who the enemy is, I don't agree. I think the true enemy is war. I don't agree that that's good that you can label a country a democracy, and yet basically everyone with an education and some intelligence and a way to get away has left. There's nobody left in Baghdad. There are no doctors. There are no highly educated people. How is that country supposed to go forward? But it's a democracy, so we won. What? See, I don't understand that. I must be really stupid, because it doesn't sound right to me. And then I'm taught to believe that all these deaths make sense, and the reasons change, like weekly, but there's always a good reason, and there's always some mouth to back it up. So I have trouble believing all of this bias. And so to me it seems that we have to learn to think for ourselves. We have to learn to realize that that war is absolutely the enemy. And war is something that starts in each and every one of us. For each and every one of us to be so arrogant as to think that, someone needs killing, there's a problem there. Nobody requires killing. For us to think that we should dominate the world according to our expertise or our ideas or our whatever. I mean, look around. Our own country, the infrastructure of our country's fallen apart. I mean, we could just go on. Does anyone read the paper? You want to read the Times once in a while? Oh, it's unbelievable. Just read what's going on. So I read it, and it makes me realize that in one way it seems to be like this snowball's going downhill real fast. And, I look around and I see bad signs. How does Iraq recover? How does the Middle East become balanced again? How in the world? I don't see the causes for it. How will that happen? How will we, as a nation, bingo, everybody, all the middle class jobs have been shifted overseas, and people that have been working in manufacturing sections for 40, 50, sometimes years of their lives, or 40 years of their lives, suddenly find themselves out of work with no retirement. I don't see where that's going to happen, that's going to get any better either. Now the hidden seams, you're beginning to see the house market fall apart and blah, blah, blah. Well, you don't need me to tell you all this. This is all in the paper. It's all pre-published. I don't get this from the celestial spheres. All of this information is available to you as well if you give a flip. And I do. I really do. So, and then I look to other places in the world where enmity is only getting worse. I mean, I look to Africa and look at what's happening in several of the countries in Africa, particularly, of course, the most well-known one, in Darfur, where there's is just extermination. Extermination. And what is going to happen to those young people that grow up without their parents? That grow up having been beaten, robbed, raped, had parts of them cut off, been treated. How are they supposed to grow up and be decent people? Who's going to care for them? So when I step back and I really look at it, I get a real dark picture. And it makes me very sad. And it makes me realize that this is a time to step up in Dharma. I want to gently put forth an idea. I think that because the world is getting a lot darker, the ones of us that are committed to Dharma, that are committed to living a sacred life, I really believe we have to get a little more creative. We have to think out of the box a little more. We like to stay in this nice, tried and true conformist path. We think, we're such rebels. We're not the regular religion in America. We're Buddhist religion in America. But then within Buddhism, we're totally conformist. We stay right within the guidelines. To my way of thinking, ever since Buddhism became Mahayana Buddhism and then grew into Vajrayana Buddhism, there was an inherent teaching in that to show that Buddhism grows as the times grow. Now, there was a time when a monk couldn't touch a woman even if she was dying at his feet. But that's no longer the case. If a monk sees a woman that is in need of help, he can pick her up, support her, get her to a doctor, give her some chicken soup, whatever she needs, to help her. And that is covered by the Mahayana view, which is the Bodhisattva's vow. So, and then nowadays there is Vajrayana, in which it is nearly impossible to live a life in which you do not harm others. Vajrayana comes in a time in which we ourselves are helping to pay for a war. I have tried to find ways out of paying for this war, offering my tax money to other areas instead. I'm willing to pay the taxes, I just don't want to pay it for war. Can't do that. So I'm accumulating this non-virtue, and so are you. Because 60% of what our government collects, as far as I understand, goes to war. So it's impossible not to hold that simply do not harm attitude and think that that will suffice. We go down the street in our car, 100 gazillion miles an hour, which I know you do. You say you don't, but I know you do. Seen you drive. And now it's cicada time. Cicada's the newest item on my dog's menu. One of my dogs brings them in. Poor thing's screaming. So it's very hard to just, try to carry the straight and narrow and have that be suffice. Have that suffice for you. You may convince yourself. But I think we have to go a little further. Since the times are advancing, we have to advance. And we have to get creative. For some of us, that might look like taking on a greater practice responsibility. Like say, all right, you want to make a real commitment to the world. So let's say you're going to sign up for a prayer slot twice a week in which you dedicate everything that you do to the end of war, to the end of suffering. And you really yes, you do your practice and you're into your practice, but the dedication is a very important part of the practice. It's deep and it's profound and it's heartfelt. And that is a contribution. Why is it a contribution? Do your prayers go out and make magic in the celestial spheres? No. You change. That's the contribution. And when you dedicate merit, also that merit is there, and there is some benefit. It's kind of like money in the World Bank. No, man, that's a bad. Okay, and money in a theoretical World Bank that actually works for everybody. How about that? So, and then, of course, when you work collectively, and this is why we're so grateful for one another, no matter how much we gossip about each other, or how much we judge each other, we're so grateful for one another because we could not maintain this merit-producing machine of the 24-hour-a-day vigil for the sake of sentient beings if we didn't have all of us. I mean, it's a beautiful effort, and it's something that every Lama who's ever been here, including and especially, and most particularly my own precious Lama, His Holiness, has said that this happens nowhere else. This is just a new thing. This is a thing we started. And this prayer vigil is an American way of, it's sort of like a droop chen, except we're not very droop, which is powerful. And it's not really a Wang Chen. So you call it sort of a, it's like a very strung out droop chen. A drippy droop chen. But it has the same idea of being a constant effort and a great effort. It is a great effort to have a 24-hour-a-day prayer vigil. Any of you that participate in it should be very proud. I mean, that is an accomplishment to participate in such a thing. And to have that opportunity to stop thinking of yourself and to benefit sentient beings. There's even a chair in there for you to do it on. I mean, you can just have at it. And it's something that, where else can you have that? It's just beautiful. The likelihood that we ourselves will dedicate 1 hour or 2 hours a week on a regular schedule without a prayer vigil to praying for the praying for the world. You may do it for a while, but you'll slack off. So this is an ongoing structural thing that we have developed as a new taste. It's American, but it's Dharma. There's no doubt we're doing Dharma practice and we're serving Dharma principles. So, in that regard, I've also looked at myself and I've said, well, here you are, turning into an old battle axe. Teeth getting longer by the day. And so what have you accomplished? So I looked around, I thought, well, a few good things. I mean, some have done better and some have done worse. I don't like to get prideful about it, but built a few stupas, got a sangha together. There's some benefit. But I'm thinking, what am I really good at? Well, I can teach to Americans. I can teach to Americans in a way that speaks to them and is a bridge and is inspiring. And all along, whenever teachers come and hear my teachings, which they have asked for on occasion, copies of it and so forth, because they want to know how it is that I do it, how it is I teach Americans. They say that absolutely, these are Dharma teachings. There's no doubt about it. But it's American style. And so I'm thinking, well, what could be my great contribution here? And I'm thinking, His Holiness never wanted me to take ordination as a nun. He sort of kind of pushed me away from that. Well, that wasn't the habit of your predecessor. Well, maybe, maybe not. And so, I've just kind of let it ride. There's no reason why I shouldn't become a nun. Until recently. And then I figured out what was going on. His Holiness told me that he always thought I would do something special, very prominent and uniquely American, that would solidify Dharma. And I wouldn't lie to you about this because I'm telling you from the throne. And they go, whoosh, when you do that. So, I thought, what? What's that?
There's a trap door under there.
There is, and it's waiting for me. So, what can I do? And I realized I could do a little music. I've always thought. It was actually a big event for me when I first got introduced to Buddhism. And I like world music. I like everything music. I like lots of different kinds of music. So I like world music, and I thought, well, I'd like to get some recordings of Tibetan music, so find out what that's like. Well, there's two types. There's the religious music, which sounds like bang, bang, bang. Insane. And it went very nice. But I don't think it's going to hit the top 10 chart. And these are all these, giant horns and things, and playing notes that we have never heard. You cannot write the music down because there is no note for it. So it's real interesting. But then there's also Tibetan cultural music. And so I got a hold of some of that. And the Tibetan women sing like, it's way up there and it sounds really funny. I can't do it. But they love it. And I thought, well, that's not going to work in America. So I thought, every religion has music that moves us. It's like, remember when you were coming up as a kid, when the Christmas music started playing? Now it means bye, 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 and it's axe murder music. But when you were a kid, Silent Night and all those things, something really special was happening because the music was, uplifting and beautiful. And then there's American gospel music, for Christians, that heart-moving, spirit-lifting, that kind of thing. Meant to be powerful in an uplifting and joyful way. Meant not only as an offering to God, but also as a way to be happy. And then there's monastic Christian music, which is really, in its earliest stages, the beginning of classical music as we know it came from the church, or, from writing about the divine. And so there's that big Western connection with church and music, and really Western music is at its root connected to the church, Western classical. And of course, as black people that worked in horrible slavery conditions and so forth began to take on some of Western Christian religion because they were a musical people and because music was their only source of joy. They came up with music that went to gospel and went to blues, and then became Motown, and then hip-hop, and all kinds of stuff happened. But here we are, Tibetan, and we're like, nothing. We want to sing, we want to dance, but we got nothing. So, as you know, I began to make some music, and I wanted to talk to you about this a little bit, not to advertise the music so much, but more to share with you how I feel about this. The music to me is a giant net. If anyone hears mantra, particularly like 7-line prayer or Vajraguru mantra or Om Mani Padme Hum, there are different blessings that come with each mantra. Like Om Mani Padme Hum can clear the way for a fortunate and auspicious rebirth. Om Ami Dewa Shri can help us to die consciously and with dignity and achieve a great rebirth. Vajraguru mantra promises thus that we will meet enlightenment within 7 lifetimes. The 7-line prayer, rather, and Vajraguru mantra. So my thought is, what are we doing sitting on this? Oops, didn't mean that. What are we doing locking this up and keeping it, in our own private little dee with our own little malas, when the rest of the world would be blessed by hearing it? So, since I have never been a scholarly person, and I was recognized way too late to break a lot of bad habits, I figure it must be for a reason, and so I began to make this music that I'm hoping will hook people into at least receptivity about the idea of Dharma, if not connecting them with Dharma itself. I think of it as a huge net. It's like, hope I can catch all those fishies and give them some nice Dharma medicine. And when I presented this thought to His Holiness, of course, I'm not the first person to make Dharma music, but a lot of what you see is more Taiwanese style, very new age, with, it's a sort of lullaby style, So, and some of it's very pretty. And some of it's very calming and nice, ambiance music. But it's not really like American music that kids would like, that hip people would like. It's not, if you're really into music, you're not going to like that too much. So I thought, well, maybe we'll get crazy here. When I was a kid, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I had this great, wonderful fortune that on the stoops of Brooklyn, there would always be groups of kids, young people, and I lived in a mixed neighborhood, and there would be these kids, these bebop kids, they'd sit there on the stoop and they'd step out a beat, harmonies with voices unbelievable. And I would be just drooling. And I went to this park, and there was this group there of 5 guys, and 4 guys that were called, that's right, they were called the 4 Aces. And they were practicing in the park there, doing their harmonies. And I was like, I want to be you. I never wanted to be a tulku, actually. I must have, or I wouldn't be here. I wanted to be a Motown backup singer. So I thought maybe there's a reason for all of this insanity. And so I went to His Holiness and I said, what if I'd like to start making this modern music that, kids are going to dance to it, they're going to sing it, they're going to mess the words up, but they might get something from it. And he said, go for it. He was really excited about it. He thinks that this is necessary. Karma Kuchen Rinpoche, who has, by the way, made some of his own mantra set to music, was thrilled about it and said that this will take care of China. I don't know why. He's really hoping I can get it into China, because it's, Americans doing this would be just a great thing. And he thinks it would sell like crazy in China. So, I've gotten a lot of good feedback from this. What I never wanted to be was like a rock and roll star. In fact, I don't even like to leave my house very much. As many of you know, I'm a very private person. I like to be in caves, feeding birds and taking care of animals, singing doo-wop. That's my ideal life. But I don't know how that's supposed to happen, but with me being who I am and just putting out this music, I mean, it's not like I'm going to go touring, you know. It's a crazy thing, and I hope it'll work. But the motivation is not to start another career or to add to this present career. I feel that it's part of my vocation as this rebirth, this reincarnate Ahkon Lhamo in the West. I feel that this is part of my vocation. And from what His Holiness said, it is. It is something that I should do for American Buddhism. To help Buddhism come into its culture properly. To let people know that lightning will not strike them if they hear a mantra. You know, and to have it move into the category of more okayness. So, I'll show you this picture. This is His Holiness when he received an iPod full of our Payul American music. He's got his own iPod. Ta-da! Check out, where is he here? Doesn't he look very groovy right there? He's got that thing going on, doesn't he?
Is it possible to get the music up on the iTunes? So that
Yeah, we're working on it. You want to help?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get his number. There you go. Check that out. His Holiness with his iPod. And he liked it too. They all liked it. It was one of the first smiles I saw from him. So, in case any of you haven't seen it yet, here it is. It is in the bookstore. You want it. Your friends want it.
I really like the, what's it called, the one that, the dub track with the, launching of it, with the tabla.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I wish I knew how to play the tabla.
Yeah. Oh, I wish you did too. But anyway, here it is. There's a lot of mantra on it. And if you don't all have one, you better get one. And get them for your friends too. Don't forget Christmas is coming. I think. It's a while off though. Yeah. I'm sure someone's having a birthday.
The newspapers won't let it be a while off for very much longer.
That's true. And then Daylog, which is our next album, this is produced in Totally Killing It Studios in New York. Daylog is produced in that trailer. It's very hard to work in that trailer. So I'm going to quote our dear friend Yeshe Karbo, the engineer, who says at least 3 times a day, "We need a real studio!" But anyway, we've done pretty well. Daylog has come out very well. It's a very exciting piece, very unique, very different. It's got a lot of different stuff on it than that. Some the same, but a lot of different stuff. And you should definitely have both of them. And so should your friends. Now, the reason why I'm asking you this is not so I can sell records to people in this room. What I would like you to do is help. We don't have a distribution system. We don't have a record deal. We would like to get some help. I don't want you to think of it as trying to get our band going or something juvenile like that. We're trying to get Dharma music out. Think of it as a spiritual effort, okay? Try not to think of it as just something, it's not ordinary. It's not ordinary music, and it in the sense that it's good music, but it has prayers and mantras and things that it's liberating. So anyone that hears this once, twice, or 3 times is much better off in terms of their capacity to be connected to Dharma, perhaps someday enter onto the path very strongly, and certainly to have an auspicious rebirth. And these are all things that we want. I mean, in Tibet, many times events are organized just so that thousands of people who will probably never practice, or not practice very much besides once or twice a year, can come and receive some sort of blessing. This is the same idea. We don't have that kind of thing here. We don't have like general Dharma things where lots of lay people can come and get some kind of general blessing. So this is this kind of music could be an example of thinking out of the box. They still get to hear some mantra. They get to hear it from somebody who's considered to be a reincarnate Lama. They get to hear liberating prayers. I mean, the prayer to Amitabha is extremely liberating. It's extremely beneficial. So, I hope you guys will get excited about this music. I have actually come to understand that there's just not many people are really understanding what's going on, and a lot of times when you're working musically, you're pretty insular because you're kind of caught up in the creative buzz of it, and you just assume information's getting out, and it's not. And I would love your help in getting it out. This new album, Daylog, I really, that's going to be the proof of the pudding, because actually I produced it. Yes, I did. And we have Yeshe. Carbo is the technician. He's the mixer. He's kind of he co-produces a little bit. We have Tara's got the most, first of all, she has the voice of an angel. And she has an ear like, I've lost a few of those ear hairs, you get as you're getting older, having too many rock concerts, or something like that. So it's actually kind of funny. When we're listening to something for flaws, I like to have Tara next to me, because when she goes, oh, I can feel her before I can hear it myself. So it's kind of a thing, but I can hear all the low-end stuff pretty well. I've got a good ear, too. Nothing wrong with them. So, but the Daylog is produced by us. We are actually forming our own production company, which is Blinded by View. And we have become quite good, if I do say so myself. And then we have John Keenan, who is our mixer man in the Southwest, and he's helping us with mixing. And he has some wonderful, exciting ideas that we use as well. So we have a nice little team coming up. What I would like to do also is to help produce others who would like to make Dharma music. In other words, see, I'm really not trying to be the star here. And I'm not trying, I would like to make the way open for Dharma to become more Americanized while maintaining content. And I'm thinking if we produce stuff here, and you can make, anybody wants to cut a record, let us know. Because we can do it. We have capacity to cut excellent music. And I'll help you produce it.
So I have a big collection of purchased live instrument loops, bass, guitar, keyboards, drum sets, electronic beats, samples, and some table work that's all live instrument recorded. I purchased it from a site called Bandmade Loops. You can use it with Logic.
Wow.
GarageBand,
Pro Tools?
Or Pro Tools. Yeah.
Yay!
So if y'all want that, I can...
Gimme. My new mantra, Om gimme home. Wow, that sounds very helpful. That sounds beautiful. So yeah, we've taken a recording of your Kyoto, right? And I'm hoping to produce that at some point. It would be a lot easier if we had a real studio to work with, but then I already said that, didn't I? Anybody want to get on board for fundraising with that? Please let me know. I would like to also from that studio begin to do podcasts, where we can have podcast teachings podcast performances, like readings with music, interspersed with music. So much that we can do if I could just get you guys to get behind me. You know? I know that we all are in our little, we have our world and we have our path, and it's very hard to get the big picture. But really, when lamas come to the world and reincarnate, they don't have like the small picture of their own little deal. You understand? They have the big picture in mind. Hardly anybody comes back to one small life for just one little deal. Most lamas will want to come back where they can make a large contribution. And so this is the kind of contribution I am able to make. Looks like I'm pretty skilled at it. Looks like the people I'm working with are pretty skilled at it. And as we open the doors, I think there will be other people. And you want to record a reading with some guitar playing behind it? We'll record it for you. And we'll help you with balancing it and all. And this is, the more space we have, once we do get the studio, we can really open up to that. And make Dharma accessible to the public. It shouldn't be such an ivory tower thing. The day is coming where just, I always liked the wedding cake idea, a broad base layer that everybody gets a bite, and a smaller layer where you have a good solid, heart practitioners. And then that top layer, you get the retreatants, the ones that are really going into the high retreats, and some of them are going to stay there. That top layer on the cake is small. And I am so happy for you guys that have that opportunity. But won't you turn your mind, please, and think for those who don't. You see? They don't have that opportunity. They don't have a teacher. They don't have that connection. But what if they hear a piece of music and they go, oh, that rocks. I really like that. And they start humming Om Mani Padme Hum. Well, we've got something. It's just a little bit of the big layer cake at the bottom, but it's something. Some nourishment for sentient beings who have maybe nothing. And so while the world gets darker and darker, we have to get more creative. Not more insulated, but more creative. How can we step out of the box to benefit others? How can we make compassion a hip subject? Because, I personally I love hip-hop. But it's hard to take some of the reality of hip-hop is born of suffering in the streets. And that's what they talk about. They talk about growing up hard, and hurtfully. And it's truth, because that's what happened to them. And that's how they live, But on the other hand, why not use the same format, take it out of that realm and produce something that would be not just a statement of how dark it is, but also a leg up to the way out.
Good view and intention.
Huh?
Good view and intention.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. And to make music in our studio, that's what you have to have. It's good view, good intention. And I'm inviting anyone to think about that. Think about becoming part of it. If your music's good, we'll support it. We'll put it on. What else can I tell you? But I think we should do this, and I think it shouldn't be aware of it. I'm particularly so tiny. I would like to watch us make something, just to see how it works. You'd probably have to come in groups of 5 and hold your breath. I can hear Yeshe and Tar rolling their eyes from wherever they are. Now they're laughing. But don't you see the potential here? I mean, it's hard to listen to what people are crying about now without wishing to add an antidote. And I wish to add that antidote. And so that's my motivation. My motivation is Dharma. It always will be. It always is. It's not, I'm not looking for a second job, I'm not looking for a raise, I'm not looking for anything other than to just cast a big net out into the world and give somebody a way in who may not have a way in, or a way to connect with compassion who may not have a way to connect with it. So that's it.
Thank you so much for being here today and listening to Jetsunma's teaching. I hope you enjoyed it. There is still a lot of that music around. If you are interested in listening to some of it, email kpc@tara.org. Meanwhile, we have other things to offer you as well. Right now, in addition to the music, is the teachings by Jetsunma, which are offered on every Sunday at 1 p.m. and Wednesdays, usually the 2nd and 5th, but there was a swap for today, and so here we were, and here you were, so that was pretty cool. Also, we have teachings by Khenpo Tenzin Karzai on Wednesday evenings at 7:30. And you can find out about those on tara.org. So you can just go to tara.org and, just do a search for Khenpo Karzai, or you can just scroll down to the bottom of the first page if you happen to be on your phone, because phones are so hard to navigate. And you can find his teachings down there in a box, and click on that, and it'll get you straight to them, and you can register there. So let's see. We also offer meditations on Saturdays and Sundays at 10 a.m. and that would be live at KPC or on YouTube. Medicine Buddha on Facebook at 7 p.m. every evening, and soak food offerings every day at different times. So to find the calendar, do the same thing. Go to the first page on your phone, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see something that says webcast and then calendar, and it's under the webcast. It's on the same link there. So it's you click on it and scroll down past the webcast, and there you go. You've got the calendar. When you get to the calendar, you can just click on the event, and it will give you the links to connect in, where it's located. It will give you a link to the practice that we're doing, and you'll be all set. So if you want to make an offering to Jetsunma, having just received a teaching, you can do that on her PayPal account, which is Jetsunma Gift, all one word, at gmail.com. That's there in the chat. And if you're interested in helping and caring for people, one of Jetsunma's projects that has just bloomed, in a tremendous way over the last couple of years is kpcbuddhistrelief.org, and there's a link to that. There are deliveries that come from Buddhist Relief from here that are facilitated by us and our donors and sponsors and people who are getting involved, and lots of people are being able to eat now who couldn't before, and that's really wonderful, and get clothing if they've just moved here, and it's pretty special, and it's pretty amazing. So check it out. If you want to just come and visit us, we'd love to see you. We're open every day, dawn to dusk, and in the prayer room, open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can come anytime. For having a practice, you can join or not join, but you can still be there. So it's your choice. Anyway, lots to do, lots of animals to see, lots of statues and stupas to meditate near or at, or however you want to do it, and lots of ways to, connect with yourself and to connect with others. Come on out. We'd love to see you. Meanwhile, we'll see you on Sunday. Have a good day.